We are live.
So nice.
So I'm going to mute myself there. Okay, so this is a different kind of format than what we usually do for association chat. I am interviewing someone whom I think is just absolutely fascinating. I was introduced to her by a mutual friend, and as soon as we started talking, I knew that she had a message that needed to be shared with the association chat community. So today we're talking about your association has a purpose. Do you? And I'm here with Dr. Aimee. M.A. Did I get it right? I mean, Dr. M.A. Sanchez. She's a psychologist, neuropsychologist, award-winning, 3-time best-selling author, executive success coach, and speaker. And she's dedicated more than 20 years of her career to studying, understanding, and creating solutions to assist high achievers with reaching their maximum potential. And I want you, M.A., I keep looking at it. I have a good friend named Aimee, and she spells it that way, so it's M.A. I want you to help us to achieve our greatest potential. So guide me. You know, associations are known for having vision statements, purpose statements, and, you know, the question is, do we have our purpose statement? Do we have our purpose in mind? Are we ready to move forth in the world, right? So how do we even start with this?
Yeah, I love this topic because I'm so impassioned about it. But I think it's an important dialogue, a conversation to have, because I think if you're an employee for an organization or you have your own business or however the setup may be, we're traditionally kind of conditioned to think that our purpose comes from whoever our pay source is or whoever's directing our daily professional activities. And we don't look at ourselves with the same kind of urgency to be able to identify what represents us, what speaks for us in the workplace or the marketplace, or what is that hallmark, that legacy that we want to leave with people. So that's why I think having your own personal mission or having your own idea of yourself being a brand is so important, especially in the hands of a high achiever, because it becomes a powerful tool to help you really identify your own pathway to success.
So how do you define, if you're a high achiever and you're looking at, I think a lot of us get caught up in how we can achieve those goals for the people we work for the organizations we work for, but we forget to connect with ourselves and make sure that we know that we're achieving those things that will give us the greatest meaning in life too, right? So how do we separate ourselves enough to be able to really tune in to what that is, to what will actually be the most meaningful and impactful for us in the long run?
Right. Well, if I could just take a step back for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So the kind of the context of my evolution towards this process, having 20 plus years of working in organizational development, the last half of that has been working a lot with coaching and managing high performance professionals that are working for these organizations that have these huge missions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're people that are driven just by the idea that they produce results. Like you're saying, they're used to being able to produce for the company, or used to being, but there are times when we get stretched to our own personal limits. And honestly, sometimes we even find that we may have disillusionment in the workplace, or we may have trouble being able to resist stress, or we may even have trouble being able to balance our personal and professional lives. And it's that process, that kind of stretching in the process, if you will, that causes people sometimes to have to start backwards and work inward. And so when I got into doing this on a more full-time basis, coaching advanced professionals, it was about being able to ask those questions before you get in those situations. And it becomes a really direct conversation about values. Values are so important. Now, we know that kind of on a larger scale, our organizations, associations have values that represent the mission that we execute every day. But as the individual who's looking for ourselves, how do we balance our own beliefs, our own values, our own attitudes, our own thoughts against what's being required of us? That becomes so important in being able to just get started on identifying what's important to you in your mission, your personal statement or your brand about yourself, the values, the things that make you uniquely you. And then you connect that, instrumentally to your work and how you want to be known and so forth. But it starts with a discussion and a real conversation about values.
Wow. And so what does that discussion sound like? You start to explore the different values you have. And I can say, well, I value honesty. I value truth. I value community. I value, I value, I don't know. I feel like I start to grab things like art, beauty, love,
Right,
like,
right. It's so easy to just, you don't realize how much you value until you start talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And then you end up with like 100 things.
Right.
What I try to do is I try to narrow people down. Let's talk about your top 3 to 5 values that describe you in any environment, personally or professionally. What would you say would be the top 3 to 5 things that you most value?
Oh, wow. Okay. So honesty, because I really believe in having honest dialogue. I feel like if we're superficial, we don't get anywhere. Creativity, curiosity. Those are probably the top 3. Leading with love. I know that sounds a little woo-woo because, well, it just does, but humor. Okay. So that's 5. So honesty, creativity, curiosity, love, and humor. Like I like humor / fun. Like I feel like I love to laugh, and it comes out at maybe some of the most inopportune moments, but I think that's definitely part of being human, and I look for those moments,
Right, that's wonderful. So think about this in the context of what you just shared.
Okay.
And the backdrop is these are qualities that you want to show up in your professional life every day when you walk through that door in some form or another. Does that resonate with you? Would those be strong indicators of how you want people to receive you?
Yeah, it does. But right. But in this, if I start to look at it this way, how am I don't know that I'm consciously aware of it as I'm doing this. And it's probably why I'm enjoying what I do more now than I ever have before, because I can see some of this. But I would say, like, when I look at humor, for example, I don't know that until just now I would have thought that was something that was important to look at and add into what I've got. So that's probably missing in what I've got in my in like my business. Like, how do I add a little bit more humor, or how do I make sure that there's a little bit more of that fun element that's involved?
Yeah. And so that's kind of where you start to massage this idea about purpose, because it really starts with the conversation about values.
Okay.
And comes this dialogue that takes you on this path to not just identifying what's important for you professionally, but also personally. If you're not having fun and laughing in life, if you don't feel like you can have honest relationships with people, if creativity is lacking in your personal life, you're probably not going to be too happy, right?
Right,
so
right.
That's the idea of kind of being able to have that balance. When any of those factors could possibly be missing for you in an important way, then you start to become more vulnerable to things like stress, burnout, this difficulty with being able to balance your responsibilities and expectations across all boards, personally and professionally. So, this may not be where you land forever on these 5 values. They can change. You can modify those, right? Because we're complex people.
Right.
But there may be points in your professional life or in your personal life where those resonate very strongly with you. And that's what you need to feel kind of good and balanced and whole and feeling like you're getting your needs met.
What does it mean if someone who's watching this discovers that one of their 3 to 5 core values that feeds directly into their purpose, they just are not there in the workplace that they're in, the workplace setting that they're in, or there's like they're completely opposite. Like it's instead of humor, it's completely dry and super serious all the time.
Right,
You
right.
know, is that a red flag? Is that can it work? Can they still work in a place and know that there are some key values they have that maybe the place where they're working doesn't?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really insightful question to have, because I think that, part of being a high achiever in these types of situations is that you learn how to be really resilient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of broker around whatever situation is delivered to you, and you still somehow either are able to produce, get your needs met out of it, or in some way or another. But the idea that I think you need to maybe seriously consider is how much compromise
Mm-hmm.
can happen before an individual starts feeling as though they've compromised too much. And
Oh, yeah.
that's probably the deeper question,
Yeah.
because some people are not always able to say that they have identified their life purpose in their job. Their life purpose may be outside of their job. So their job sometimes can be, unfortunately, just an instrumental means to an end. It could be a way that they make money, but they're still committed to the company and the organization's missions and values. They still produce. They're still a great employee, but there may be something, a larger calling that they're called to that's outside of what they're doing. But if they're still able to access that in some way, then it possibly could be still a workable situation for them. Say maybe your life purpose has something to do with being artistic, or being an artist, or singing, or being creative, or acting. You just feel like in some way or another, being in a creative type of situation is it feels like balance to you. But maybe your job that you're doing every day, you're working as an accountant. Or something that's very administrative or technical, and it really doesn't pull from that aspect of your life that you have joy in. So then the question would be, do you have other ways that you can access that
Mm-hmm.
part of you that helps you feel as though there is a marriage between your purpose and your life and how things are working? So
Okay.
it's a multi-level discussion, but I think for each individual, it's a unique answer, and it's a unique process.
I want to take a second here, and I want to say to the people who are watching live right now on YouTube, or the person who's logged into the Zoom conference right now and able to ask questions. If you have questions with Dr. Aimee Sanchez, as we're talking through, going through this interview, and I'm asking her questions, please type them in. I'm going to check on both channels, and I will incorporate those into our conversation. Or if you feel brave and you're on Zoom right now and you want to jump on and go on video and ask your question, you can do that too. Just type into the comments and let me know. So one of the things that we talked about before we decided to do this was that we were going to talk about how we began crafting the personal mission statement in 3 steps. And I don't know if I let you tell me all the 3 steps, or if I summarized that correctly in what I was doing. So I looked at my values. I looked at the 3 to 5. What are there other? Did I miss some of the steps? Like, how do I put them together? I'm just trying to make sure that we cover all of our ground.
No, that's fine. Okay.
Okay.
So the 3 ways that you can get started on crafting your personal mission are very easy. And
Okay.
I'm a kind of person who's compartmentalized in my thinking, so I kind of go step by step. So here's the 3 points. Very simple. Like we started talking about, what is that purpose that you feel like you have every day when you're entering that door to your workplace?
My purpose.
Every day. The other question to ask yourself is, what is your passion? Okay. And then ask yourself, how can you demonstrate to others that you serve in the way that's consistent with your identified purpose? So are others being able to receive the benefit of you being connected to your personal mission? So just like you shared earlier,
Mm-hmm.
you talked about those values, those 5 values that are important to you. Part of your mission, if you decided to craft that, it could be something like, I don't know, to serve as a leader and live a balanced life where I have fun, creativity, and are transparent and honest with people every day so that I make a significant difference. Are the people that are coming in contact with you every day getting a benefit of you being connected to that mission in some way or another? Those are kind of the questions that you can start with to help you start crafting that personal mission statement. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I just want to say hi to Stacy, who said, uh-oh, she's over on YouTube. She said, uh-oh, you made me consider switching channels. I know. Just think about it. You could just jump right on camera and ask your questions. Okay, so that totally makes sense. Thank you for clarifying for me. So what's my purpose every day? What's my passion? And how can I identify?
Yeah, how can you be able to demonstrate to others that you're
Yeah.
serving in a way that's
Yes.
consistent with your purpose?
Yes. Okay. So I'm a slow learner, but I try really hard.
Okay.
So, okay. So I've identified, I've looked around me. I'm saying, all right, how can I share this with the people around me? How can I better demonstrate as I go along my path with the people I encounter in the workplace? Okay. So what if I'm having a sense of, you said that the values can change. You said we're dynamic people. We can go through changes all the time. Maybe we've gone through something significant and, we've had a radical shift in what we want to focus on. How do we go about, and I didn't prepare you for this question, but hopefully it's not that crazy. How do we go about maybe making those changes in our day-to-day when it's such a radical shift? When other people's expectations of us are maybe set on the patterns that we've established with them,
Sure.
for a long time, and we've suddenly realized that humor really is a big important part for me. I never really thought about it before, but I refuse to let it go. And people are like, why is this person like doing this now? Why is she wanting to have a dance party in our meeting? Like, what's going on? Stacy's on. She says, guess who's on Zoom now? I know, watch out. So what happens if that takes place? Do we need to just start from scratch, or can we still rock it in the workplace where we are? Or, do you have advice for us?
Absolutely. It's one of these things, it's not really a linear equation. It is kind of like all messy, right? Because we're complex people. And so we can do whatever we want. It's our personal brand and our mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I think you benefit from in identifying your personal mission statement is that it gives you a way that you can really elucidate or explain to people your value in the workplace and what you think you bring to the workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the power in that comes from you being able to not just identify your personal statement, but share it with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Share it with people so that they kind of clearly know where you come from. They kind of clearly know what your hallmark is. They kind of clearly know what your legacy of work is and what you stand for. But the same thing comes from if you decide that the mission has changed,
right,
or if you decide that
right.
it needs to be modified, to kind of find a way to introduce that there's been a shifting or a change in the concept of how you're showing up professionally. And maybe in some cases, it might even involve a reason as to why. Like you said, if you're leading a team of people and you've been leading in a certain way, maybe there's a disconnect there. And you're finding that something like humor or being a little more lighthearted or leading with less of an iron fist will have more credibility with your staff. And so you share with them, in all transparency, that you're going to shift the way that you're leading because you found the benefit in doing that personally, and you also want to bring that to the team.
I love that because I feel like it frees us up. I think a lot of times, we get caught up by our own limitations. We let things define us and we think, well, but I'm the person who never laughs in the meeting. And it's like, well, you can just kind of change that anytime you want, like you can change. I remember that several years ago, I was like, well, I can't, I had this sort of fear of people's judgment of me. And I was the person, I always had to have makeup on, even if I went to the mailbox, you guys, even if I went to the grocery store, because we ran out, like I had to always have it. And it was stressful. And it also, it had something to do with, they were limitations that I put on me, but they were also things that I was so worried about this identity that I had set up for myself that I would like not be that thing that I had established in the world that I was. And it's like, you know what? You just don't have to. You can just wake up one day and say, it just doesn't matter that much. Like I don't have to be that. That doesn't have to be part of who I am anymore. Yeah. And that's what it was like to let it go. I think the thing, that I get concerned about, I think, with associations is that when I used to work for several different associations and, I would look at their mission and sometimes I was more tied to it or more drank the Kool-Aid than other times. And it's interesting because I think sometimes a lot of people who work with associations, they get caught up in the tasks at hand and just doing that thing. And they don't understand that each one of them in their roles have such an amazing impact on the people around them, on the members, on the organizations themselves, which leads to the industries that they represent. And so I got to thinking about this lately and wondering, was that just a problem that I had, or was it something that a lot of us do where we forget the power that we have, each one of us, to have a great impact on the world around us through just our daily, the way we lead and live our lives, Yeah.
And with my background in neuroscience, this is so kind of in alignment with the whole process because as human beings, there's only so much that our brain can focus on at one time, right? And so, yeah, we kind of get tunnel vision sometimes, like you said, and we get so focused on the task that we forget about being relational. And those relationships just don't impact the others that we touch with our influence and, our leadership, but also being able to relate to ourselves. You can find that if you're looking for an association or an organization and you're 150% sold out on the mission, that, when things happen, maybe the way that you don't plan or that you didn't expect, that's that process that can sometimes happen is that disillusionment. Because you maybe have overinvested to the point where you've lost your identity in what you're doing and the tasks and the image and what that looks like. And you haven't been able to be grounded in who you are. And so it takes time to get back to that. So I just try to encourage people, and it's not always, it's not as easy as it sounds. It's really not as easy as it sounds. But I think that, we have a sense as leaders or people of influence to feel like we can't openly be transparent about what we're going through, that it makes us less than credible, or that people might think that we're a fraud, or they'll think that we're less than competent. And sometimes that is the biggest marker of credibility with the people that you influence or impact, is that they see that you're human and you experience things in a similar fashion. And, you kind of got to be careful about what you're transparent about and how that comes out.
Right.
But the transparency of it nonetheless makes you feel like a real person, and it is freeing to you. So, definitely. I can understand that. Been there myself. I've worked with, thousands of high achievers that struggle with the same battle. But I think it's important to see the priority and the importance of developing yourself personally and also developing yourself professionally.
Mm. I love that. Stacy, Michael, do you guys have anything that you want to ask at this point in the Zoom chat? And Stacy says, I found when you stop giving a damn, that's when others start giving a damn about the real you. And that's very true. I think when you care too much about what other people, you're too concerned about pleasing other people, you lose a lot of the power that you have in what it is that you're supposed to be doing in this life. But when you focus on it, you know, when you focus on yourself and like what it is that you're supposed to be taking care of, your business that you're supposed to be taking care of, then it does seem like other people begin to care a little bit more and pay more attention to what you're doing. It's almost like we sense, right, that somebody's, they've got it, they're on the right path. Let me pay more attention to them now. And which I guess is a good thing. You said that we are going to get clear about our purpose, our mission, and our vision, right? Leading into this, our purpose, our mission, and our vision. And so one of the questions that I had is, you know, how do we define the difference between our purpose, our mission, and our vision? Because, you know, a lot of times we think about those things almost, or I do, think about those things almost interchangeably. And you definitely, you know, I've worked in organizations where you have your vision statement and your mission statement. And I don't know that they've necessarily said their purpose. Maybe they had it hidden somewhere, or maybe they captured it within their mission or their vision statement. But is there a difference? And if so, what is it between those things?
Yeah, you know, they're kind of interchangeable in some ways, but more importantly, the purpose about, if we're just talking about the individual.
Okay.
When you're talking about your purpose, you're talking about the why and the what. Why are you here? What were you created to do?
Okay.
Right? And then the vision is the big picture. How do you see that your purpose fits into the plan of where all of this is going?
Mm-hmm.
Part of that might be the vision of where do you see this going forward? So if you were to ask yourself that, based upon the purpose that I see that I have in my life, how do I see the big picture, me living out my purpose every day? Where is this purpose going? Where is it going? Where is it going to end? And then who's going to be impacted as a result of me fully living out my purpose? Your vision, well, both your purpose and your vision are connected to others, but the vision is the big picture.
Okay.
The big picture going forward. So oftentimes you hear thought leaders talk about casting vision. It's like, I have this idea about the future and my thoughts about the future and how that's going to look. It's the big picture, where the purpose is your individual part in it and how you see that being lived out based upon your unique talents, skills, giftings, and abilities.
Yeah. So how do we get clear about our vision? So if we have, say, I've figured out, I've listened to you and I have developed my 3 steps to my personal mission statement, right?
Yeah.
How do I get clarity around what that big picture is for where I'm going?
Okay.
I'm asking all the big questions, like, please lead me, guide me down the path.
Well, I told you I'm very compartmentalized in my thinking. So here we go. Okay, so the purpose, why we're here, what we were created to do. Okay, what is it? Okay, so asking yourself, what is it that you don't enjoy about what you're doing in your job right now and why? This kind of getting clear as how you're going forward.
Sales letters.
Yeah.
Yep. I can answer those things real fast.
And then why is it that you do what you do? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Why do I do what I do? I know why I do association chat. Why I do some of what I do, some of the consulting work that I do is I mean, a lot of it has to do with money, like just, I know that that's the way that I pay the bills. I don't know that, and it's because I'm good at it. The speaking stuff that I do because I feel like, it's part of, I used to do it because I thought it was good for getting people to know who I was so that they could hire me for consulting. And I used to think of it like that. It's like, well, I can go and I can connect with people and then they can hire me. And now I am, like we've talked about before, I'm, working on something that's probably the most meaningful talk I've ever given. And that has nothing to do with the getting hired later for consulting. That has everything to do with, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do here on earth, which is, I feel like I'm helping people to know something that I think they can use that will end up making things better, right? So I'm tied to that. I'm still having trouble with that consulting piece, which does not sound as connected as all the other pieces, right?
Okay. So they may all be part of the big picture,
Mm-hmm.
down to doing what you really love to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
some of the other stuff might just be pragmatic stuff you have to do so you can do what you love to do. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what you love to do. And what you love to do is what?
I love to talk to people, like right now. I love to learn and I love to share what I've learned.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Be there with that, because that's
Okay.
partly connected to your purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for you, now this is going vision forward with that, what you just said. What does success look like for you without the paycheck?
Right. Okay. So if I'm not thinking about the paycheck, success would be, and this is something I really struggle with. And I just want to say, Stacy says over here, intrinsic versus extrinsic is a battle we're all facing. Kiki, you're definitely not alone. Thank you. It's, if I didn't have to worry about the paycheck, success would look like, it would look like people telling me that they had used what I'd shared with them to change the organizations that they're in or to build communities so that it's made a difference for these different industries. And I realize that's not going to happen right after a talk, and that's not going to happen. Oh, there's my dog. That's not going to happen right after a talk, and that's not going to happen really fast either. That's something that is, takes some time.
Yeah,
And
you're building incremental.
Yeah.
So you can just imagine that if you have a vision going forward, that every step you're taking closer to that vision feels like success.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Based upon what you just said. The outcome that you're looking for is that people would know that they had been impacted as a result of what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's connected to the outcome of you staying connected to your purpose that ends with touching other people. So that's my last question about vision.
Okay.
How do you want to feel about your impact on the world? How do you want to feel about it?
I mean, I want to feel like if I disappeared tomorrow, that there's, my daughter didn't know who Madonna was the other day. And and Madonna, there was no one bigger than Madonna when I was growing up. Like everybody knew, it was like Michael Jackson, Madonna, Cindy Lauper, like there were these, but like Madonna, really, like everybody knows Madonna, except she didn't. And that's in my lifetime, right? And so fame is fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
And people who were great, famous, all this stuff, stars, like all back in the day, you wouldn't recognize their names today.
Mm-hmm.
But if, you know, if I died and something this is so macabre, I know, but if I died and something I'd done, something from this work had actually made a difference, so that even if nobody else could attribute it directly to me, nobody knew my name, but it actually changed things so that people came together and started solving problems in a way that they hadn't before. Or, you know, like I could see where ideally if I were talking to a group or something, and somebody went off and they just, you know, they used some of that and they started working with their group, and it meant that two people connected and they fell in love and they had a family. Like there's all these things that could happen if I do things the right way. And so I guess I would feel like I had done my very best on this earth, you know, while I'm here. And I just want to feel like I've done my best, you know, like this is the thing that I think I'm in a unique position to share. And I just want to make sure that I do it justice, and I don't feel like I cheated out, like I faked out, you know, like I played small and didn't try to share and communicate the best I could. So it's a lot of pressure. And, you know, and then there's the imposter stuff that comes up where it's like, oh, come on, you know, like whatever, you probably don't drink your coffee, Kiki, and go log into Facebook and shut up, you know, is like the thing that's in my head. But it's like, yeah, but you know, what if, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if it makes a big difference, the stuff you share, and what if that helps communities come together better? And so, yeah, so like, I would want to feel like I'd really given it a good, the best I had, right?
Yeah. So as you're talking, I mean, there's so many beautiful things that you said, but I essentially think, you know, when we're saying, well, what's the difference between purpose and vision? Purpose is, like we said, your unique gifts, skills, talents, and abilities, right? Your vision is your purpose having feet on it. So saying when you're no longer on this earth, the legacy of your work, that you want it to speak for you in ways that people will know you without having known you.
Yes, yes.
That's your vision.
Yeah.
So if anyone is out there and they're struggling, like, man, that took a whole bunch to get to just to figure out my vision. Maybe even a question, like Kiki said, is if you ask yourself the what if. If I lived in my purpose and my passion every day, what if, you know, what would it look like? What if?
Yeah.
What if I could dream about what that looked like? Would people's lives be changed and touched? Would associations be changed? Would people's families be happier? Would folks not experience stress or burnout? Would people not feel as though they had to stay in a job that they hated? Would people feel like they could have more fun in life? What if? What if I kept doing this and saw it all the way through? What if? That's your vision. The answer to the what if. What if I just dreamed? What would that dream look like?
Wow. Stacy says, I'm like, by the way, I want to cry right now. This is really a great conversation. For me anyway, I'm really enjoying it. I found myself struggling with the impact of my legacy too. Yeah, because we don't want to think that we're on this earth and we're just kind of taking up space, right? We want to think that we're doing something that means something, that we do have a purpose. Yeah. And I mean, and it doesn't even have, that's the thing is I used to think that it had something to do with, you know, being bigger. And it's like the fame and people know, and it's like, I honestly, I think, I mean, that'd be really cool. Don't get me wrong. but I really think that it would be worthless if it didn't have the part where it's like it actually makes things better, and that you know it. And of course, I'm even afraid to say it out loud. Hardly, I mean, kind of, because I'm afraid that by saying it out loud that I'm going to fall short, and that I'm afraid that when I say that I want to do these great things, that there are my haters out there that are going to be back. Well, she doesn't have anything to add, and oh God, it's I'm sure, it's, who does she think she is, and thinking about all these projects and all these plans and all of these things that I want to create and make happen, and that I want to have some kind of an impact. I think, if there's anybody out there like me, whenever you put out a blog post or you do an interview and you only have a handful of people who are paying attention to that thing, you think, does anybody even care? Does it even matter that I'm doing any of this? But I have to think that it does, because I'm curious about stuff. And occasionally I talk to people who say it makes a difference for them, and it encourages me to continue on. So if anybody's ever wondered why I've continued on for this long with Association Chat, it's because probably somewhere along the way, some poor person stopped me at a reception and said, thanks for doing the thing you do, right? But all of that stuff, every little piece, every little word of encouragement means so much,
And you're not alone. There's so many people that struggle with that imposter syndrome, where they just feel like they're not enough, or they feel like they're not up to the task, or they feel like a fraud. And it's this battle that, yes, there are outside forces and environmental things that you have to overcome, and challenges, and so that you can be successful, especially when you're already at the top of your game. It's also that internal battle, like that's 80 to 90% of it, the battle that you have in your head. And so that's why I love what I do, because I do all things having to do with mindset, helping people to shift their perspectives as how they see their situation, so they actually can see a solution within their problem. If my problem is that I don't believe in myself and I don't have any confidence and I think nobody cares, then we are shifting your perspective so that you can see other ways that you can identify a solution in that problem. Well, maybe my lack of confidence and my doubt can be a platform to connect with other people that feel the same way as me, and so they feel free.
I love that. Do you see? I mean, you guys, did you see what she just did with that? She just took that and said, hey, that could be a strength. That could be a strength for, like, you feel doubt. Maybe that's how you better connect with people, by sharing your vulnerability, or by being up there and letting people know it's okay not to be confident 100% of the time, like you have all of the answers. I mean, that's mindset is incredibly important. And for years and years and years, I have seen the Carol Dweck mindset book brought up over and over again. I bought it, and true confession time, I have started reading that book more times than you can even imagine. And then I just don't stick with it. I don't stay with it, even though I know it probably contains really important knowledge that would help me. So I guess saying that out loud, I need to now actually read it. But since I have you here, so if I need to change my mindset, you've heard me admit that, okay, I feel like I have a purpose. I feel like I have at least more clarity on my vision now, and these doubts, there are these doubts that are cropping up that might be getting in the way of me living and being the most powerful that I could be, like the most effective and achieving what it is that I need to do in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see that? Do you see where people get in there? I feel like I get in my own way at least 50% of the time. Like that's my struggle, right? Is I get in my own way.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
can we get out of our own way?
Oh my gosh. That is such a complicated question.
I ask the worst questions. I really do. Maybe I'm the best, you know.
It's so much easier said than done, right?
I know.
Because I always joke with people all the time, like the smarter you are, the more complicated and complex your defense mechanisms are.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I tell people that I have established castles and mansions with my defense mechanisms that I convince myself are the truth, because I've learned how to lie to myself. But the reality is that we don't understand how powerful the unconscious is and playing against us. I mean, these are deeply rooted behaviors, thoughts, and attitudes that have originated from deep in our past. And, you know, a lot of people say that's woo-woo, blah, 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 stay in the present. But when you look at these patterns as they continue to emerge over people's lives and the areas and themes that they're saying that they're problematic for them, likely they're related to these old ideas. And so I'm not saying that I have to necessarily help you unpack your fear of the dark that originated at age 6 in order for you to go for your next promotion. But we do have to be able to talk about what some of that dialogue that's going on that only you know, because you tell yourself that, and that's what keeps you from going forward.
Yeah.
The thing that the brain responds to is that your unconscious, you know, when you're dealing with something like fear undergirds a lot of this in some form or another. When you're dealing with things like fear, that's a very basic response. That's deeply rooted in us. You see a bear, you run.
Right.
That basic for us. So when it's in the unconscious and it's that deeply rooted, the power comes in being able to make that unconscious idea belief conscious. So if you know that every time I get up to speak in a meeting where there's 50 people there, or I have to give my position on a report that I failed at, or I have to have a conflictual interaction with a difficult employee, if I know that fear is the operating base for that and I'm aware of it, then I can address that in my awareness. That's the first power. So whatever's undergirding and keeping you from getting where you need to go, making yourself aware of that is the first step in being able to attack it.
Wow.
Calling a thing a thing.
Calling a thing a thing. So it's awareness. It's saying, you know, like I am afraid that because this person doesn't like me, that it indicates I've made a poor choice, and that I make poor decisions. But is that true?
Yeah, is that true?
Is that true? No. Yeah. Okay. I said it out loud. You know, like it's done. Okay, I'm solved. So Stacy says,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, Stacy says, I have a question that's kind of the opposite of that kind of fear, which is interesting. Stacy, do you want to clarify? You want to jump on and ask, or do you want to add more to that? How do I jump on? Let me invite you on. I think I can allow to talk. Yes. Here we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Stacy, we can hear you. Yes.
I've always wanted to have a conversation with a hologram.
Here we are.
Yeah. Okay. So my question is, okay, so we're talking about like the fear of failure or of vulnerability or whatever. What about the fear of success? Because sometimes I get into this, like things are going great and everything, and then I'm like, hey, you know, this could be really good. This could really take off. It would be awesome. But then something stops me. I'm like, I know that this has potential to be awesome, but something stops me because then I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm an introvert. I don't want a whole lot of attention on myself. Like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
That's a great question, Stacy. So it's really the same answer. The fear of failure versus fear of success is still fear. So when you talk about you don't have this great idea in the project, and if it takes off, then what? Because I have a fear of speaking in front of people. Same fear. Why do you have a fear of being visible? What is the underlying belief? So the brain tries to reconcile that because the fear is the protective response, right? So the way you bring it to your awareness, Stacy, and you're already telling me you're aware of it because you just told me, is you keep asking why. Why? Wow. Why am I afraid of being in front of people? Why?
Why are you afraid of being in front of people, Stacy?
Well, okay, maybe I phrased that wrong because I am like part of the 1% of the population who is not afraid of speaking in public. I actually enjoy it. So when I say in front of people, I'm not necessarily talking about like literally going up and talking in front of somebody. I'm just saying like just successful in general. Like what is it that is holding me back that I'm actually afraid of there? Would I not be able to handle it or what? I'm not sure what's going on there.
So let's push back. So let's say, so why do you think? Let's just play. So why? Why, Stacy?
I don't know. You guys are so much cheaper than therapy.
I don't know. You know, Dr. M.A., she may not be cheaper. I don't know. But right now, yes.
I've been around that block a few times. I'm good. I've had enough to like last me like 9 lives or whatever. I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I've had things go well in the past and suddenly like things will come to a screeching halt and life will throw me a wrench. Maybe. I don't know.
Afraid of the things that you can't predict or the things you can't control?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the great Kikini. I can't see into the future. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because I'm afraid of things, life getting too complicated, maybe, and then I wouldn't know how to juggle everything, perhaps.
And how important is control in your life?
Very much.
Okay. So what would it look like for you to have more control and more freedom and more success?
I don't know. I would probably have to get back to you on that one.
Okay. So that would probably be part of the vision crafting. What would success look like for you? What would it feel like for you?
Okay.
I like that.
Because if we're talking about creating your own reality, let's just say you hit the number and you're you're massively successful and you've got all these calls and all these people want you to come speak and you've got more work than you can handle. What would that look like if Stacy became the CEO of her life?
Well, in a way, we're all the CEOs of our lives anyway, but...
Absolutely!
Oh, did you just checkmate me? Crap. Once again, a doctor checkmated me. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, I've always had big ideas. Some might call grandiose, but at the same time, I'm like, well, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why not? Yes.
Why not? Part of the crafting, Stacy, would be whatever that might look like for you. The phenomenal success with all of the anxiety and the angst and the fear that comes with that because you have way too much work than you want to deal with. What would it look like if you mastered some of that and connected still to your purpose, your passion, and your vision for your life? Would it mean that you would ask for help? Would you delegate more? Would you put boundaries around your time? Would you make sure that you insulated support so that you could have, so you would have less stress? What would your relationships look like because you were more guarded and had firmer boundaries around your time? So then your brain starts creating ways to make it work.
Okay, I hope that that's like a bunch of rhetorical questions because I am not about to just blurt all that out right now.
They're all rhetorical. They're all rhetorical. It's just a process, though, that you can take
Right.
so that then it gives you the possibility to dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you that I'm going to have to go back and listen to this and listen to the questions that you just said so quick, like
Yeah.
I need to go back and listen to this so that I can try to answer those for myself. Because that's a good thought practice. Stacy, we've got about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to kick you out of here.
Oh, that's totally fine. I got to get going anyway.
Thank you so much for coming on and asking your question.
Yeah, no problem. I'm kind of like the penny that won't go away now. So
I love it. I love it. Please don't go away. Please stay here.
You're going to regret that.
I don't think so. But I am going to kick you out of here right now. All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Okay. So I think I'm going to disable talking. All right. There we go. I had to figure out how to do it first. So this was really interesting working through this with Stacy's question too about success, because I bet you run into that all the time with working with the high achievers, because that's who's seeking out your help, right? Is trying to maximize and do the best that they can. I think that's even why our mutual friend put us in contact with each other, is because, it's like she's a high achiever, like everybody. It's wonderful, but it's maddening because it comes back to these fears that we still have to contend with, even if we're afraid of success rather than failure.
And it feels like an oxymoron to say that you have a fear of success when you're successful in your life, right?
Yeah.
But really, that's still operating as fear. And so if we can call it the thing, it gives us so much more power.
I really identified with what Stacy said about when things start to go really well, and then this fear of everything, like the wheels falling off. Something I've noticed, and I know that we've only got a couple of minutes, but something I've noticed, and maybe this is another conversation sometime, is self-defeating behavior. It's, the big talk is coming up, the big keynote or something, and for whatever reason, all you want to do is nap and not work on the talk. Like, what is that? What is that thing? Why does that happen?
Yeah, good old self-sabotage. Or you get sick the night before a huge audit, or
a
lot of it has to do with that tape that keeps playing in the back of your unconscious about who you are, what you can have in life, what you can do with your life, the belief about success. They're still operating. And so it's that thing of like, once I'm aware of that, then I have a responsibility and a commitment to do something about it. I can actively ignore it and act like I didn't hear about it, but that's still doing something. Or I could decide that I'm going to act differently so that I get a different outcome. And I'll deal with the mindset challenges as they show up because now I'm aware of them.
Right. So this has been an amazing conversation. Your association has a purpose. Do you? We talked about that. We talked about coming up with your purpose and your vision and your mission statement, but we talked about so much more. And I know I'm springing this on you now, but what I would love is if everyone who's watching this, if you have questions, if you have additional things that you would like to hear Dr. Aimee address, then write them in, let us know. And I would love it, Aimee, if you could come back and, and have a conversation with us so that we could explore this a little bit more, because self-sabotage, that's a whole other game, right? And how can we try to improve our mindsets and move past it? In the meantime, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to have more information, I know you have books out there. What's the best way for people to find more information about you?
Yes, please go to my website, www.dravsanchez.com.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for watching tonight. I know that this was a little bit different than the usual setup, usual format for Association Chat. But if you were watching on YouTube, are watching on YouTube, listening to this on the podcast later, or if you're watching through Zoom, I thank you for your time and I thank you for your attention. Let us know what you think in the comments. And as always, keep asking questions to learn every day. As Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So until next time, everyone. Bye. Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too.